Aloha. Mwah. Well, blessings everyone. I hope you're having a good Wednesday and a safe one. It is 6:19 p.m. August the 16th, 2017. Let me see if I can get this up here. And then I have to scoot this out. Scoot the camera down. Okay, there's the gravy and the potatoes. Circle it around to, well, let me go back the other way. There we go. The roast. I've got some already cut up in here. It's nice and tender. I'll pick up a piece without maybe spilling my plate, because I'm having to hold the plate a certain way. Let's see. See how it just pulls apart? My first taste. I don't taste any cinnamon. Well, let me go to a second bite. There's like a little, I do know it's like a little kick. Yeah. But no, I don't taste any cinnamon. I just taste that kick. You know, that little extra boost. It's yummy. I'm licking my fingers. Let me move my plate back. Yum yum. Okay, let me set that. So, now my gravy, you'll notice if you've watched my videos before from when I fixed my roast before, I like a more of a brownish in color for the gravy. That has to do with when you brown your meat or sear your meat in your pan. I did that this time, but yet my legs and my back and my hip and my arms and my shoulders and all is really not letting me stand that long at the stove to do that. And I did it for a little bit, left it on there, and then came and sat down, then got back up, went back in there, did that a few times, and then it was just like, once I got back in there, it was like, no more. I'm going to go with how it is. And I knew that it would be a lighter color, but it's still very delicious. And yum yum. I can't wait to dig into it. I'm letting it kind of cool off a little bit, but I did want to do a real quick video and let you know how it turned out. Now, I will let you know on the rest of it, and with just that first couple of bites, and if I'm licking my fingers, that's usually a good sign for me. And I put the right amount of salt and pepper in my gravy. Wasn't too much, wasn't too little. So, you know, it was enough for me. Now, some of the others that have had my roast gravy usually adds a little bit more salt, maybe a little bit more pepper, but that's all to everybody's preference. And the only time that I do not cook with the salt and the pepper is when I know someone cannot have the salt and pepper in their food as they're eating it or as it's being cooked, because I salt and pepper my roast on all sides and all ends. Not a lot, just enough to give it flavor. You don't want to overpower it. So many people love to just pile it all on, and then pile on the tenderizer, pile on the paprika. And I thought what I was reaching for was, which I did the first go round, I reached up, got my paprika down, and then I thought I saw what was another container of paprika, because I was about out, and I didn't want to use the one in the very back, so I knew I had another one that had a little bit more left in it. So I was going to just use those two and not have to open up the new one. Well, like I said in my status, when I reached for that second bottle, turned out to be cinnamon. But then when I went like this, and I went, wait a minute, that's not paprika. Because it's not the orangey color coming out of there and being on the meat. And so I just stopped immediately. And then I picked it up with both hands, and I went like this with my hands to turn, like as if I was going to turn around to the sink, which was right behind me, to wash it all off and, you know, start over with my seasoning a little bit. Not so much as the salt and pepper, but, you know, I'd put a little bit more, not much. But I was just like, next thing I know, I was putting it back down where I was seasoning it, and I was just like, okay, if you say so, because God is with me all the time. I'm never without Him. And so He and I have got a conversation going, and, you know, it was just like, because normally I would have just turned around and washed it all off. Not this go around. They had something else in mind for me to do. And then sometimes, every once in a while, I'll rub the meat, you know, after you season it, and then you just rub it, and it's like it's giving a lightly rub, and you're not really working the seasoning in there, but you're rubbing it so it will cook down into the meat. But again, whatever seasoning you use, I highly recommend, do not overpower your meat. When you do, you cannot taste the meat. All you get, that first bite into your mouth, all you get is a mouthful of seasoning that is, you know, because then, by then, your mouth and everything says, whew, you know, spit it out, get rid of it, because it's just too much. But yet you want to taste the meat, but yet you can't, because there's so much of the seasoning. And, you know, I just cannot stress that enough. I mean, generally, it's not the ladies that do it. Gentlemen, I know you're good cooks. Some of you are excellent cooks. Some of you are outstanding. Some of you are so-so, just like us women. All those descriptions can fit us ladies as well. But yet, listen to your wife, your girlfriend, your sister, your mother, your grandmother, your cousin, your niece, when they say, please don't over season my meat, let me season it. I've gotten in the habit that when I know that there's a person that is going to be doing the seasoning and putting all that on there, which I mean that's usually anywhere from 1 inch to 2 inch to sometimes 3 of all stacked on top of the meat. And I'm sorry, folks, that's just way too much. You know. Now, I can understand if it's a big old huge brisket, but even still, I don't care what size it is, if it's the size of your house. You don't overpower your meat. Every chef that I've watched on TV, and I've watched many through my 65 years, And they always say, don't over season your meat. So, anyway, enough on that. But anyway, I just was like, oh my goodness, what the heck, and how the Sam bone is this going to come out and taste like my roast and potatoes? Because this with cinnamon is not on what because I use salt, pepper, Adolph's tenderizer, and then I use paprika. And then if I'm in the mood, I'll put either a half or a portion of an onion and just let it cook in there. But then I pick out the onion, I throw away the onion. If somebody was here that liked the onion, they were welcome to have the onion and eat it. But the only way you're going to get a French fried onion ring or an onion in me is my homemade French fried onion rings. Or it's going to be Dairy Queen or Sonic, or it's going to be Gage's onion rings, or it just all depends, because I like them a certain way, and only certain places kind of come close, but they still don't come close to mine. But anyway, and if my awesome neighbor Diane was here, I would take the onion over to her, because she likes to use the onion in some of her cookings. So you missed out on this onion. Sorry, Diane. But yet, there'll be many more roasts that you can have my onion in it. So, but, I just was, I was just like, how is this, am I going to end up having, because I had a 3-pound roast that I cut in half, and I froze the other half. And so I'm only cooking this other half of it. And it was a smaller chunk of it. And I was just like, oh my gosh, please God, I don't want to have to throw that away. Because that's like, what am I going to do for me? I've got other meat, yes. But this was my, something that I've planned and thought about and been craving and been wanting, and my body's been needing it. And so I was just like, I can get several meals and several days on this, because I can make hash, I can make roast beef sandwiches. I mean, it's several ways that I can fix it after I've got the essential of the, like you saw on my plate. Because I mashed down my potatoes, and of course I cook them whole. I don't, if I have to, if the potato is too big or something, I'll cut it in half so it'll lay down in the water. After I browned my meat, added my onion, and then add my water, then I let that cook for a little bit. Then I peel my potatoes, I rinse them off, and then depending on what size pot that I'm using is whether or not if I cut them in half or leave them whole. And these were, potatoes probably about this size. And then I had some that were about this size, some that were about this size, and then I had one that was a little bit bigger. And that one and the one down under it on the sides, I cut those in half, just so that if I needed to cook it longer, I could. And I'll have to relook on the time that when I posted that, because when I posted that about the cinnamon, it had already been cooking probably about 30 to 40 minutes. And here I am when I started this, and I'm thinking that, and I cooked it kind of from a high to a medium high, and then down to a medium, and then towards the end I started tapering it off. It depends on your stove. Every stove is different, and every cook will tell you there are no two stoves alike. When you think it works the way you do at home, you get to an oven you never cooked with, or a stove. Doesn't matter. Oven can be just as cold-natured as the rest of it. But it just all depends, unless you know it and familiar with cooking on that stove or the oven. So that all plays a part on how your food is going to turn out. I've got a fairly older type stove and oven. It's electric. It's came with my apartment, but yet it's been, I've used, it's really cold. You can't, normally in my mama's oven, and when I had my own home with the kids, that oven, I could tell. You could put it on 350 and it's going to cook at 350. Not this one. To make it 350, I've got to go up to 450. So that's how cold-natured this little stove and oven is. And so, even my burners, I have to, you have to kind of judge and set. But it's no big deal because, it's just part of what you do when you cook. And y'all have seen pictures of my stove. It reminds me of the little cooking chef stove that you would give to your daughter or son if he's wanting to be a chef, and it's the first little kitchen, and that's in the child size, but this is the adult size of a child size because it's small, it's little. It's 4-burner stove, but it's real cute. Everybody comments on it. Oh my, that's little. And I go, I said it was little. But anyway, I love it. But I just wanted to, let you know how it all turned out. And so I'm going to now enjoy the rest of it, and I'll get back with y'all later. And stay tuned for the rest of the story. Love y'all. Night night.